All right, now to our Tri-State office furniture tweet of the day, and this is from Michael Beck at Michael Beck 56. Now, this guy, he makes a good point here. The Steelers turned David DeCastro's release into Trey Turner, Melvin Ingram, Joe Sherbert. It's a huge win for a guard that probably never plays this year, and it's a good point he makes there, Paul. There's no way David DeCastro was going to play. He was injured. That's one of the big reasons they, released him, and they did get all those guys. And here's what I'm wondering: they're really close to the cap right now. They still have to make some moves, and they don't have a lot of space to do it. So what I was thinking, and I don't even know if this is possible, where are they going to find space in case something happens, cap space that is? I mean, could you see them maybe releasing a guy, say a Stephon Tuitt? He hasn't done much in training camp, and he hasn't practiced much. Is he a guy you could release, you could free up some cap space right there and money to go out and do other things with? I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything. Right. This is just me thinking this.
Well, I'm just saying, I think they do have a little bit of cap space left. I think Sherbert is going to count, what, about $7 million or $6 million?
Yeah, but they were only about $8 or $9 million. So they have $2 million, but right. they got to leave some room there.
Right. They have a little margin for error, but I do think that at the end of training camp here, there will be some guys who are casualties of the cap. In other words, they'll cut some guys to try and create money, even if maybe they're a little bit better than whoever it is they're going to keep. I mean, these are decisions you have to make, and I would think that a great example, Rich, is Jordan Berry. I mean, if you go with the Harvin, I mean, you're going to get a much cheaper punter, and that's going to save a little bit of money. And I know it sounds stupid, but there are little decisions like that you can make that maybe you can put together, $3 or $4 million under the cap, so that you do have some flexibility. But I just think that, they've done a really good job of basically making it clear they're trying to win this year.
Yeah, so, I mean, Jordan Berry's a good name to think about, Stephon Tuitt. I mean, maybe even potentially, and I hate to bring up the backup quarterback again, but Mason Rudolph makes a good bit of money, and maybe you could potentially trade him because they don't have a 4, 5, and 6 next year in next year's draft. So you could do that if Dwayne Haskins does beat him out. So there's some options there. Let's go out to Nick in Belverde. How you doing, Nick?
Hi, Rich. Hi, Rich and Paul. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to ask you to be more cautious on this backup quarterback battle between Haskins and Rudolph. If you look at their regular season records when there's real pressure against real personnel, clearly Rudolph has done better. And so there's not much to be taken out of that game, given the personnel that they were playing with. Nick,
I totally get what you're saying here, and I want to cut you off just because, for me, if you're looking at the preseason, I understand Dwayne Haskins was going against, he was going against what? Second, third, and fourth teamers. I totally get it. And maybe if you do compare their stats, but Haskins was playing for Washington. That team stinks. And Rudolph was playing for the Steelers. He could have done much better. But for me, it's the eye test. And for me, Haskins just looks more poised, looks more confident out there. And look, going back to what you said in the first segment here, if you get to the backup, you're in big trouble anyways. You're not going anywhere.
Well, and there's that, but I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Washington make the playoffs last year? Didn't they beat the Steelers and make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken?
Well, I'm talking about the year before.
Oh, well, yeah, but I'm saying, with Alex Smith, a guy who was basically on one leg playing quarterback, they thought that was a better option than Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. And again, I'm not, taking away anything from Dwayne Haskins. I just think that we have a tendency to fall in love with the new toy in town. The new shiny automobile is always, something that we fall in love with. But, reality is he's got a long way to go and a lot to prove. It seems to me like he is matured in a number of ways, and I think that's a big, important thing for him because immaturity, I think, was probably part of his problem in Washington. But at the end of the day, again, there's a lot bigger issues on this team than who's the backup quarterback.
All right, the number is 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Let's go out to Fred in North Huntington. How you doing, Fred?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, question and a comment. The comment first about the Steelers. I've noticed this preseason that Spillane, he's having a lot of trouble covering the guys out of the backfield and covering the tight ends. And then you watched Devin Bush get burned last night, I think on a 20 or 25-yard pass by a tight end where he couldn't keep up either. If they don't clean that up, that's going to be a long year for them. And then I also wanted to ask Paul a Pitt football question. Am I going to be disappointed again this year, Paul, with Pitt football, or do you see them maybe turn the corner with Narduzzi? Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's touch on the middle linebackers first before we get to Pitt. That's why they went out and got Schobert. I mean, they obviously need a guy that can cover in the middle of the field.